Hello, welcome to my guide on frost DKs and PvPing. And yeah, everybody's gonna say DKs are ridiculous, blah blah blah. DKs are just overpowered, and DKs either suck or I don't know. Point is, I always top damage, and I always get the most killing blows and all that kind of junk. Maybe it's because I'm really good. Maybe it's just because I know how to play the class. Who the fuck knows? But take a quick look here at my spec. This is fairly standard for the most part. This is kind of a hybrid between Battleground and Arena. The first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, in the Frost tree, you want Runic Power Mastery for your Frost Strikes, you want Icy Reach for your Howling Blast and your Chains of Ice so people can't run away from you, particularly Hunters and Mages. You want Annihilation because you don't actually. I'm going to get rid of Annihilation, it's kind of dumb. Lichborn, you definitely want that for the self-heals and the fear break. On a Pale Horse is useful because it reduces the amount of running away from you that people can do. And Endless Winter, obviously awesome for interrupts because interrupts keep good amount of pressure on whoever you're attacking if they're a caster. And it's actually healers also. Merciless Combat, you get your Howling Blast and your Icy Touch and Frost Strike damage. You're not going to touch Icy Touch, really. I mean, you can basically just take that right the fuck off the bar, because it's fairly useless at this point. Frost Strike and Icy Chains will both, or Chains of Ice will both put the Frost Fever debuff on them, so Frost Icy Touch is pretty much useless. You've also got, you want Killing Machine to the max, because those are going to be big, all the procs from Killing Machine. Those will make your Frost Strikes do a lot more damage. Pillar Frost is a great little skill for when you want to burst somebody down, finally. Improve Icy Talons, of course, you want the haste. For Brittle Bones, you get that extra physical damage, which is pretty important for us. The Chillblains is great because it stops people from moving completely when you use Chains of Ice, which is outstanding for using against Hunters and Mages again, and pretty much any other class that you want to kite, like a Blood Death Knight. Blood Death Knights, you're going to have to kite. They do enough damage and they heal themselves enough that you're just not going to be able to take them down flat out unless they're horrible at what they're doing. Might of the Frozen Waste, obviously, you want all of those because you want all that additional damage plus the Runic Power. And, of course, Howling Blast is one of the meat and potatoes moves that we have. I also took Virulence because it's a pretty good damage boost from the Frost Fever. I've also got Bladed Armor for the armor value. I've got Blade Barrier for survivability, and Hand of Doom because I wanted a little extra, a little less cooldown on my Strangulate, basically. Again, I'm probably going to get rid of Annihilation because Obliterate I pretty much just don't even have on my regular bar anymore because it's not that useful until you get to the burst phase of something, and really you don't even need to. What I've actually learned from doing the dummy a few times is if you use Obliterate instead of Necrotic Strike all the time, you end up doing I end up doing right about 14k damage. With Necrotic Strike, I end up doing the same amount pretty much. And actually it's a little bit better because you'll get more Frost Strikes out of it because you're doing more attacks and you're getting your Howling Blasts off more often, which is, again, extra Runic Power. So that's about enough explanation of how it goes. I will get into a regular random battleground now, and I'll just give you guys a brief showing of how it's done. Okay, so I realized that I bound my keys to the wrong button on my mouse. So I had them bound to the my Fraps key bound to my auto run key. So I was repeatedly shutting off and turning on the video. So yeah, I'm dumb. But let's just go ahead and pretend like it didn't happen. As you can see, I actually did top damage, even though I was not really. I mean, I could include the rest of the video, but for the most part I kept getting CC'd because they saw how much damage I was doing and just would not let me. They couldn't really bring me down, but they did finally CC the hell out of me. But I only had one death, so it's fairly decent. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate the Necrotic Strikes here that are what really makes this ridiculous. Necrotic strikes stack infinitely, as I found out. And that's exactly right there why you want to have that endless winter, because that guy's going to sit there and heal, so I'm just going to let him. I'm not really too worried about him standing there and healing himself. I would much rather get on my way. And I've never interrupted someone reviving their pet before, but that was pretty awesome regardless. Obviously this hunter has absolutely no chance. And yeah, I know if I were trying to win this battleground, I would, be, elsewhere helping the demos, but honestly, I don't really care at this point. We did so badly on our... Well, actually, I'm surprised we might actually win this one. We did pretty bad holding them off, but it looks like we're doing pretty good killing them, so... And I've actually caught up on killing blows and still way ahead on damage. So that's, yeah. Just goes to show you, I do have some clue what I'm doing. Only slightly, though. And we got a priest, and they gave up, and there we go. Top damage, 3 killing blows. Somehow I did 42, 48 healing, which I guess is from my glyph on my weapon, Fallen Crusader. But, yeah. Oh, I also did mention my glyphs, so I'm going to get to that right before I queue for the next one. Alright, did a series of battlegrounds, mixed results as far as winning and losing, and they all took forever, and we're all A, B, and Isle of Conquest, so I didn't really want to keep on doing this, and I don't want to drag this out. So, just to point out a couple things real quick, you want to... Like I said, I'm probably going to get rid of Annihilation, put it into Unholy Command, because the quicker Death Grip is pretty damn useful for a DK. Also, Hand of Doom, give that the other point, because being able to do a Strangulate every minute is better than doing it every minute and a half or 2 minutes. And that's mainly because you just don't really use Obliterate that much, and if you do, it's... meh. So, there's that. As far as glyphs, I went with the Glyph of Icy Touch. That'll give me 20% more Frost Fever damage. With the Virulence, that gives it 50% more damage, so that's pretty useful. You want more Frost Strikes, so you get the Glyph of Frost Strike. You want to be able to put your diseases on them with Howling Blast, so you get that glyph. Strangulate, add 2 seconds as long as you use this at the right time. You want a longer Anti-Magic Shell for certain people you're going to go against. Like a good Frost Mage, you definitely are going to want the Anti-Magic Shell, and you're going to want to use it at the perfect time, otherwise you're going to get screwed hard. And of course the other thing is the Path of Frost, so you don't take fall damage as much, the Resilient Grip in case you screw up your Death Grip, and Glyph of Horn of Winter, so that you have a little more time with the Horn of Winter, and there's really nothing else as far as minor glyphs that are useful. Blood Tap possibly, but not very useful. So that's that. The only other thing to mention is the Pillar of Frost and Runic Empowerment. It's a pretty good idea to macro that together with your Blood Tap, because that will give you 1 rune that you'll need to hit up your Pillar of Frost. So basically, if you macro it, something along the lines of cast Blood Tap, cast Pillar of Frost, cast Empower Rune Weapon, you'll end up with a button that'll allow you to dump all your runes on something, and then you'll be able to quickly hit that a couple times till it actually gets everything on there, and then you got all your runes back, and then you just keep on cycling through. And that's basically it. That's the meat and potatoes playing the Frost DK. If you like the guide, great. If you didn't, oh well, don't use it. I don't know. I've been pretty damn successful with it so far. I don't have a whole lot of time to PvP with an actual constant group, so I generally end up with a rating of around 1700 for Battlegrounds. Arena, I've gotten up to 1700. Doesn't show on my cap anymore because I've swapped teams a ton of times. But that's pretty much it. So, yeah. Have fun screwing around with your DKs, guys. actually, there was one more thing to cover. I completely left out stat priorities. Stat priorities, you definitely don't worry too much about mastery. Although the mastery is pretty good, it's actually more useful to get haste and strength for the most part. So pretty much a good tool to use would be Reforginator. It'll actually tell you what you want to reforge to depending on what your gear currently is, and it'll find you a good way to reforge everything and tell you how to do it. And it'll even make it so that you can like click stuff, put it right in the window, and so on and so forth. So that is pretty sweet. Basically, you want to get the hit cap first so that you're not missing. The expertise cap is kind of optional. If you are behind people for the most part, you don't really need it. But it will help out a lot if you are just against someone who's really good and knows how to face you, so you won't get parried all that much, if at all. And then of course you want to just gem for strength like there's no tomorrow. You also want to get the spell pen. 195 is the cap for that. The way I did it, because I'm not a jewel crafter, was I went with the 70 spell pen enchant for my cloak. I've got 2 50s, so that gives me a total of 170, and then I did a 20 resil, 25 spell pen, and that was mostly for the socket bonus, but that gave me enough to have 195, and worked out pretty well. I do have a few resil gems that I need to replace with mixed gems, mostly because, having some resil is definitely a good thing. I've got 4K, so I'm able to take a lot of damage pretty much. But yeah, for the most part, get your hit cap, get expertise cap if you really want to, and definitely spell pen because all the damage is frost damage for the most part. And then of course Rune of the Fallen Crusader, because nothing's really going to do as much damage. The extra strength is a huge thing. Strength is the greatest priority for us because it will do a ton. After the hit cap and expertise, you definitely want to reforge for haste. Haste will be doing a lot more damage for you than anything else. Mastery is just not worth per point, basically. But yeah, so that's the end of that, and I'll see you next time.